On this episode of the Sports Opinions podcast, I have the athletic director of Manchester Township High School, my alma mater. He's been there for 18 years. He has seen so much in his time and done so many good things. We talk about kind of his job behind the scenes, what an AD actually does, kind of his challenges, because we really don't give too much love to ADs. And it'll be nice to, kind of hear the things that he has to go through. And he goes through a good amount. So I would definitely pick his brain and listen there. We talk about him bringing back the Hall of Fame program for Manchester Athletics and what his initiative is there. And then we kind of touch on the COVID stuff, what the future is for the summer and fall and the winter going forward, and how it's affecting the athletes, coaches, all the above. So without any further ado, enjoy the show, everybody. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions podcast. I am your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. And with me today is another one of my Manchester connections. I've had a few coaches at the school that I have known and things like that. I had my uncle, who I've known forever. But this guy I've known for such a long time, even before I was in Manchester Township High School, because of my uncle. He has been at Manchester forever. We have known each other for 20 plus years now, Coach. That's really weird. He's 34 years as an educator, 33 years over at Manchester High School. He's finishing his 18th as the director of athletics there, which almost coming on that 20-year milestone. He's a 12-year member of the Shore Conference Executive Committee, served as the president from 2012 to 2014, sat on a bunch of committees, realignment, officials committee, tennis committee, bowling chair, and will be the bowling tournament director from 2020-2021. He was a social studies teacher at the high school, head coach for boys basketball, boys tennis for 11 to 15 years, chosen Shore Conference OC AD of the Year in 2018-19, Jersey Sporting News and Shore Sports Network OC AD for the year 2019-2020. And these were just the accolades he chose to give me. So they can probably go on and on. He is the athletic director for Manchester Township High School. Keith Lister, what's going on, Coach?
Oh, not much, Alex. Just trying to get through a very strange time. So I'm in the home office today. We've been working from home a little bit, although the last couple of weeks we've been in multiple days because we're planning end of the year stuff, graduation, and
could only imagine,
trying to put sort of, that wrap up picture in place. So I'll be back in tomorrow, Friday, and then every day next week to do my part in trying to do something nice for the kids. It's been a strange run though.
Are some of you going back in the building and officially doing work in the building now, or is it still all remote?
No, we're administratively, we've been in the building the whole way.
Okay.
But not everybody every day. So, when we initially went out, we had come in the following week until it really got bad. And then we one day a week each. Okay. Then it graduated to 2. And because we've got a lot of things going on with graduation and what we're trying to plan, we've been in multiple days each week. And, so but we're restricted to the number of people that we can have in the building as well. So we have a couple of custodians, a few secretaries, a few of the administrators, and, that rotates a little bit so that we're in compliance with what those regulations are.
Yeah. So, we're getting upon the summer. So I think like all of you are pretty used to walking around an empty school in the summer. But what was it like walking around there? Oh man. And just, the last few months, and it's kind of like summer break and no one's there. Like the administration's there. The teachers are, doing as much as they can, but it's summer break, but it's not summer yet. There should be kids there. Like, was it eerie walking around Manchester?
Yeah, it is. It's, typically when you get ready for the summer, everybody sort of puts their stuff away, and each of the rooms are sort of prepared for, no activity. But, if you walk our hallway now, our cafeteria, is lined with a bunch of basketball posters for each of the kids on the basketball team, because our basketball teams the girls in particular, were still participating in the group championships and what was going to become the Tournament of Champions. So all of that stuff is still on the walls.
Yeah.
And we haven't, we haven't taken that. So that's a little strange. That sort of puts it in perspective, how long it's been that we've been, in this situation. So
Yeah, and it's
different.
funny because I had Coach Boschman on a little while ago on the show. Talked to him, and I told him, once you guys go back and you do it again, I want to have you on again so we can have a little victory thing. And it's just weird now that I might have to wait another year to really do that and talk to him. So it's such an odd situation. Now, if anybody's listening and watching, I'm going to call the athletic director coach a lot because when I met Coach Lister, he was a coach. When I was I was a wee lad. And so, I don't think he minds. I think once you become a coach, I've coached, you take it as a badge of respect. It's kind of like being called like a doctor in a way. Like coach is not a bad term at all. It's a very happy term. I think you take it the same way.
Absolutely do. And I think, it is a little bit of a badge of honor.
Yep.
So I'll never turn anybody down from using that to identify me. And I'm proud of what I've tried to do. And, there are a lot of people in our building that answer to coach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh my God, yeah.
It's just sort of second nature now. And, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you talk about, a lot of things going on, and I want to give you a chance to talk about what you do a little bit behind the scenes as an athletic director, because on the outside looking in, the general public, almost everything you do is public. You're a part of a public high school. So any decision that you make in terms of hirings, firings, suspensions, anything like that is public knowledge. So, and obviously you've been doing it for so many years now, almost 20 years as an athletic director. So you've made some great decisions that have been popular and probably decisions that have been very unpopular, both, and it comes in a good give and take there.
Sure.
I want you to give me maybe a few behind the scenes things and challenges in terms of being an athletic director and making some of these difficult decisions that, there's got to be somewhere, that I'm going to pull the trigger on this decision and it's going to give me some backlash. And I know a lot of things that you do are a part of a team. It's a team decision, but if it's athletics, it comes down on you. You're the face of our athletics program. So give me some of the behind the scenes challenges that we normally wouldn't hear that ADs have to deal with. So maybe some people can get a better perspective into what you do.
Well, I think there's, I appreciate that, Alex. There are certainly people that don't have as much of an understanding as those of us who have been in it and are working at it. Some of the real challenges today are, and I don't know that it's been significantly different, but it's not as easy to find people willing to coach as you might think. And so, year to year when we post our coaching openings, that can be a challenge. I'm sort of relieved if we, have multiple people interested in a particular position, because filling a staff can be really challenging, whether it's, they don't have a time of, I think ideally everybody would love to have all of their coaching candidates be really qualified and be in their building. But that becomes a difficult challenge. They don't want to necessarily put the time in after school. They don't want to necessarily deal with some of the downside of coaching, which might be difficult kids or parents. And, so that's a challenge. Finding enough people to be interested in staying in a program and trying to work through is more challenging, I think, than people realize. And I'm fortunate that I've had some good coaches in positions for long periods of time where I haven't felt too much of that pressure, but it certainly can be there. And it's not easy. I'll give you one sport in particular that I feel pretty fortunate for. Swimming coaches are difficult. Schools don't have pools. And, because the YMCA.
You're telling that pool on the roof doesn't exist in Manchester? That
That's
rumor
right.
was the best rumor of all time.
That's right. No, but, because so many schools are trying to share such limited facility space, the hours that you have are not hours that you can necessarily control. So our swimmers have to practice, sometimes 8 o'clock at night. All of their meets are 8 o'clock at night. Those kids, if they live in in a section of our town in Whiting,
Yeah.
they may not be getting home until after 10 o'clock
Yeah.
from a meet or even from a practice. So the swim coaches have to be lifeguard certified and WSI certified, and to get them to be willing to do all of those things before they even start can be a challenge. So I feel pretty comfortable. We have a young man that currently teaches at Southern Regional who's been our boys coach for a few years, swam at Toms River East and went to Ryder and swam there. And then our girls coach is a teacher at NTES, Brittany Steele and Kevin Mahana. So I feel fortunate in swimming, but I got to tell you, I dread if things change for them. Certainly when you have a female coach, they may choose to, like your wife, have a family, and that changes a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And with Kevin being in another district now, he could easily be given an opportunity that might make sense for him to go there. So, that sport is just an example, but that can be true for any sport that we offer. Getting coaches to not just want to do it, but be qualified and know the sport too. I mean, we all fear having to hire somebody who's more or less just an advisor or a supervisor.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help us grow the program. It doesn't help our kids with their skill set.
Yep.
But there are certainly districts out there that have that need, and sometimes we'll put a person in that position because there's nobody else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's a challenge. I think another thing that a lot of people don't understand is our scheduling and the restrictions that we have with scheduling. I am given a divisional schedule. I don't make the divisional schedule. It's given to me. And then when we want to pick up non-divisional games, there are some things that we have to keep in mind. We can't play games. In most sports, you can't play 4 games in a week. You can't play 3 in a row. If you want to match up with another school, they have to be in a division that plays alternate days from you so that you can find a date that works. And so sometimes
jump into that.
Putting those pieces together is hard.
What is your challenge now as an AD with when the women's program right now is so good and you want to now play this, nationally ranked, state high ranked talent?
Yeah.
And, and Coach Boschman is kind of wanting that now because he wants to be able to display these girls early. And, even when our men's teams, we got some pretty good men's teams under Coach Ramsey.
Sure.
And bowling is fantastic and is constantly good. And you want to go out and compete. And like you said, I did not know, I had an idea that we were given, but I didn't know that you didn't have an input on the divisional schedule at all. So what are the challenges there? Are you constantly now on the phone with other ADs trying to figure this out in the beginning of the year? Like, are you sitting there going, okay, I have my divisional schedules and now I need to get on the line and figure out who I can compete against, who's willing to do this, who's willing to go home and away? Like how much does that become a headache are you kind of dreading the divisional schedule release every year?
No, not necessarily. What I do is I send the coaches a document and I ask them to list for me, sort of provide me a wish list. Mm-hmm. I tell them how many games we're going to be able to get, because that will fluctuate.
Yep.
And then I say, tell me how many scrimmages you want and who you want to scrimmage, how many non-divisional games you want and who you want to play.
Okay.
And I actually share that document with the entire conference so other ADs can do that as well. And then you're trying to find, the schools that might have you on their list as well. I've turned schools down and I've been turned down. But we generally have a meeting where the whole conference is there together and they'll say, okay, we're now scheduling boys and girls basketball. And it's literally like a rat race. You're running around trying to find people to plug in to your schedule and make it work. And this is a scheduling year for us. So we schedule in a 2-year cycle.
Okay.
We got the fall scheduling done. We got the winter scheduling done. The spring scheduling, we weren't able to go and have that meeting.
Yep.
So we had to resort to sort of going old school, if you will. I still sent the coaches the list. They still provided me with their wish, if you will. And then we had to get on the phone and call or text or, contact without being in person the people who, you were interested in trying to schedule. So it's easy for me if coaches can agree on common opponents in basketball or in soccer or,
Yep.
those common shared sports, because dates typically would work out with another school. I wouldn't have to worry about splitting. But in girls basketball the last few years, they've been at such a high level that it's been easy for me to schedule because we've done showcase games. I haven't picked up any games other than going to showcases.
Yeah, that's
and
really cool.
I've had to juggle a little bit of their schedule to make sure we're in compliance with not playing 3 in a row or not playing more than 4 games in 1 week. You can only do that once.
Okay. Wow.
So, I'm still waiting to hear from a school to try and make our basketball schedule next year for the girls to work the way we need it to. But we have a little time. I'm not overly concerned about it. But yeah, it's, you take it while you can get it. And our girls have had a tremendous run. They've been really fun to watch. And our boys have been a competitive program in Coach Ramsey's tenure as well.
Absolutely.
So, generally they share opponents, but in this case, there have been some different teams to play.
Coach, I feel like, we have some other topics we're going to eventually get to. I can sit here and do a whole entire hour podcast with you again, just picking your brain about AD stuff, because I feel like you have such a wealth of knowledge over your 18 years. And it's just, and I feel like you're having a little bit of fun being able to actually talk about this as someone who isn't an AD or another administrator. So, it's pretty cool. And I hope people can kind of hear that challenge and understand, with sometimes the conflicts and strength of schedule types of things where sometimes that's not in your control.
Well, I'll tell you, you can have me on anytime, Alex. I enjoy talking about certainly the things that I do. And you've always been an exciting kid in athletics, and you've always been a enthusiast for all kinds of sports. So
we've had fun button heads a few times too.
All good.
Absolutely. So I want to jump into this.
Sure.
You have had so many hires, you probably can't even remember at this point. You've had some amazing hires. Some of them that kind of fell to you. John Musoff is a legend, and he was just kind of there. He's been there since the bricks started to be put on the building in Manchester. So has to be someone that when you took the AD job, just having a guy like a John Musoff and even a Sweeney McKinnon and certain guys that were just there and were just already fantastic coaches and educators had to make your job a little bit easier to start. But then you've had some great hires with, we talked about Coach Ramsey, Coach Boschman, Coach Wes Moore, Jason Griffin, so many guys that have been Coach Scheffler, Coach George. I can go on with the list of just amazing coaches that you've hired. Obviously, there have been other coaches that, there's been other failures. And it comes with the territory of good hires, bad hires, hires you didn't expect. When you're doing the process, first, I want you kind of to break down a little, what are you looking for in a head coach hire? Generally, I know it gets a little sports specific, but generally, what are you looking for in a coach's hire, and how much of it is your intuition that you've gained, or just a little bit of luck at times where you're just like, I don't know if this person's going to work, and then they're there for 7-8 years building a great program?
Well, I think luck is a part of anything. Certainly, you have to have luck, and but I think good coaches sort of make some of their luck as well. Veteran coaches are definitely the friend to an athletic director in a sense that they've seen a lot of things, they've experienced a lot of things, and they've handled a lot of maybe difficult circumstances over their time.
You still lean on them for certain decisions right now? Like if you have a difficult decision, will you go and kind of talk to some of your veteran coaches there, which is interesting. The coaches that I had that were young are now veteran coaches, which is really funny to me. But do you kind of sit there, and if you have a tough decision, even with all your experience, go to some of your veteran coaches and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with right now. What do you think, what would be your recommendation in this situation in your sport?
Well, I think, certainly coaches, I think they appreciate input on their schedule. And so I definitely want to try and give them as much input in their schedule. And I want them to understand the parameters that I have to work with. So they, so they can sort of take ownership of some of that as well. But I certainly rely on them in terms of how they're dealing with some of their kids, and if there are some difficult circumstances around some of their kids, sometimes I'll certainly lean on them on how they feel they might want to handle a certain situation. And I just want to try and provide them as much support as I can. I try not to dictate to them unless I have to with certain things. There's a lot of compliance issues that come from the state with regard to obviously physicals and participation if kids are not cleared with physicals.
Also the compliance officer as well as the AD, because I know in college they have separate AD and compliance are separate. Where you both in a high school setting? That is not
there's no compliance officer in the high school that has just that title. It depends on the district that you're in. Certainly, the compliance in the athletic department falls on me. So the kids, but I have a team of support. Our athletic trainer and our nurses help us with kids being physically cleared. And so that paperwork and that compliant issue is, their support. Academically, the kids have to be eligible. And certainly, the kids have guidance counselors. And, I have a department secretary that helps tremendously. So, all of those compliance issues ultimately fall on me, and we do the best we can in trying to make sure that the coaches pay attention to athletic academic eligibility, that the counselors are aware of communicating the right information if kids need to make up a course in the summer. There's a difference between staying on track to graduate or becoming athletically eligible again.
Yep.
So, it's important that our kids get communicated the right information.
Absolutely.
So that if they want to participate, they might have the opportunity to do that. Fortunately, and I won't stick on this for too long, but, we've gone to block scheduling in the last 4 years or so. And now kids, unlike when you were there.
For a long time. That's something that I think we should have been doing for a little while.
Kids are now carrying 40 credits a semester, a year. So if they pass all their classes, they're by far eligible, and
absolutely
they could even conceivably fail to and still be eligible by the current state guidelines. So
bizarre.
So it's become eligibility is not as much of an issue for us.
It's great
as it was, way back in your day.
Ridiculous that we can actually say that. So and I want to jump to my other question again. So now when you're sitting there, you have an opening. And you're looking at candidates.
Yeah.
What is your, not to get sports specific, but your general criteria, your first things that you are looking for in your ideal head coaching candidate?
I really want a good person that has the best interests of the kids. If, I want a person that I feel has integrity, person that I have, has strong morals and ethics. And I really want a person that I really believe is a good person. If they're an educator, that's sort of
a plus.
That's a real plus for me, because they've certainly learned how to deal with some kids, and if they're in our building, certainly that's attractive as well.
Yep.
So I think that's the first thing for me is I want to try and find good people that I feel like I would want my own kids to spend a lot of time around, that I would trust with my kids, that I would feel would have the best interest of my kids. And, I think if I feel that way about a person, then, sometimes you can overlook some of the weaknesses that you might have. They may not know as much about a particular sport as you would like them to.
Yep.
They may not have the experience that another candidate has. And so sometimes you have to weigh those things and feel like, okay, over time, who's going to be my best opportunity here to put the things in place that we want to, with the values that we have.
Yeah. And, and you talk about, some guys that might and ladies that might not have the exact experience, but I had Coach Scheffler on not too long ago, and he was my initial cross country coach.
Yeah.
When and long distance track and field. I only did XC sophomore, junior year, but for outdoor, for the distance team, he's the first person to tell you he had no idea what the hell he was doing in terms of distance runners.
Right.
But he's the type of guy where if you give him a challenge and you tell him he needs to learn something, he's an animal about it. He's going to go and he's going to learn as much as he can. And to this day, I've had so many coaches. There has not been a better motivator in my life than Thomas Scheffler.
Yeah, his
motivation skills are just second to none in terms of coaching. And I feel like that's hugely important. And also his support. You never had a bigger supporter than Tom Scheffler if you were his athlete.
Well, it's nice to hear you say that because, Coach Scheffler has been a triple threat hawk, if you will. It wasn't a term that we used a lot when you were around, but triple threat hawks are hawks that participate in all 3 seasons of the year.
Yep.
And Coach Scheffler has been a triple threat coach
forever,
for a long time, much like your uncle, Coach Porterways and Coach Griff. And, some of those guys, Coach Musoff, I think coached, 21 straight years of
soccer, indoor, and baseball. Baseball. Yep.
So those people who, are invested in the kids and the school and the culture are important. And, that's when you can find people like that, I think you're really fortunate. And, the kids will, over time, I think the kids gravitate to those kind of people.
Absolutely. So before we jump into another section, I do want to get semi-sport specific because I am, I'm repping the shirt of football alumni. I played for 2 years, freshman ball and senior ball. It was a weird situation. I had some people mad at me, some people happy. I played under the great Coach Panicu, who's fantastic. I knew Coach Doug Covert beforehand. Coached with Coach O'Donnell, volunteer for a little while. You had to approve that, which I don't know how begrudgingly you did, but
not at all.
But so I have a vested interest in the football program. Unfortunately, I don't know Coach Furlong at all. I never met the man, but unfortunately, his tenure there did not go as anybody wanted, including himself.
Correct.
And you just recently hired Coach Wilkerson, again, another person I don't know.
Right.
It was, there was an obvious divide when Coach Furlong was hired. There were 2 people that were vying for it with Coach Furlong, and, we don't have to mention whoever else it was. It's not here nor there. But kind of give us a little blurb about Coach Wilkerson, what he brings to the table that you brought him, because football, we've been in such a weird place in Manchester Township. The talent is there to be a very good football program. It has been for so long. We've had so many great football players come through, but just for whatever reason, we haven't taken that step to become the program that I think we should be. So give me a little bit about Coach Wilkerson. You don't have to completely explain your hire. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you want to, give me some blurbs about Coach Wilkerson, why he was the candidate that you eventually went with.
Well, Coach Wilkinson is a very good football person.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good person without football, and I think his football knowledge and experience attest to what he's capable of. He's got from a historical perspective, I think he's got more football experience than anybody we've hired. Now, Coach Furlong had 18 years prior head coaching experience. Coach Wilk doesn't have 18 years of prior head coaching experience, but he has coached football right out of the gate.
Pinelands and South?
He was at Pinelands.
Other stops?
He was at South first, then he was at Pinelands.
Okay.
And then we brought him in as an assistant teaching at the middle school in 2017. So when the opportunity came to look at the potential for a new hire, we had, as we always do, we had a pool of candidates. That particular hire involves a committee.
Yep.
The committee interviewed the candidates, narrowed it down to some finalists, and the COVID thing sort of put everything on hold. We were hoping to have an appointment a little bit earlier than we did, but back to questions about Coach Wilk. He has a lot of football experience and knowledge. Having been in our program for a couple of years, he really got to know our kids. I think he's established a pretty strong rapport with the kids that are in our program, parents that are in our program, and other coaches that have been in our program. Now, he hasn't been in our building, and from a day-to-day teaching position, but he's gotten to know the guys that were on the staff and the guys that, are interested in staying. So, we're working on building his staff, and, we're looking forward to what he might be able to, do differently than every coach before him. And every coach that we've had, and there's been 9 prior to Coach Wilk in our history, has had varying levels of success. They haven't, I don't know that any of them have had the success that they wanted to have coming in, but they've all had, periods of success. So we're looking for Coach Wilk to take the program to a level of success that we've been at and would like to stay at, and then maybe build from there. So, a part of that is numbers. It's sort of a difficult time maybe to look at growing the program in a sense that we don't really know what the fall's going to bring. That's a little bit of a different conversation, but our numbers have been down. We're looking for them to increase. We're playing in a division where there are very few freshman level teams. We've never not had a freshman team. Yeah. So I can tell you right now, we have 22 freshmen that are sort of signed up. He's already had a virtual meeting with kids. Tomorrow night, he's having a virtual meeting with seniors only. We've got a Google Classroom that has 22 incoming freshmen that are going to join. So, we're hopeful that his enthusiasm and his knowledge are going to be contagious, because, there are a lot of kids in the community that are really excited about him being appointed, as there are some strong support among parents as well. So, I look forward to helping him. My job really with the football program and with any program is to just do what I can to empower the coaches to have the resources they need and to have the opportunity to do what they feel like they need to do to move forward and be successful.
I wish Coach Wilk nothing but the best. Again, I don't know him, but I really hope, just from the program standpoint. Last thing, touching on hirings, when you have a giant pool like this and you have to narrow it down to finalists, is there ever a moment where you're looking at some of the people that you haven't picked and it's really difficult to kind of, narrow down and then who you go with and who you don't go with? And then do you ever keep track of the other candidates' successes? And just as an AD, because have you ever kicked yourself every once in a while going, man, I let that guy go? Like, is it, there's got to be some moments where you're sitting there and you narrow it down and you make the best decision you think you could. And then all of a sudden you're looking going, damn, like, have you ever had that moment?
Well, I can't tell you that certainly isn't. I think that's natural to sort of look at. We certainly know who it is that we've interviewed. We know that most of the people that have come into interview, let's say football, have been coaching. They may be looking for their first opportunity as a head coach, or they may be looking to make a move as a head coach. So you could certainly see the results of the programs that they're in. And, there has certainly been some of that to look at.
Imagine in 18 years, you're definitely looking.
You know what I mean?
Some of them, like some people you might have think of, damn, I let him go, or her go. Like, there's got to be some.
Some of those decisions have been really, really difficult because the people that you interview, you really like, you care for them as people, you've worked with them, you've gotten to know them really well. And in my case, having been around so long, I may have taught or coached them. Small school, that is, it's hard to make those decisions that are then going to have to be communicated if it doesn't go in their direction. Yeah. But again, with those decisions are not made alone. They're made, with a lot of deep thought and conversation with the committee and with our superintendent. And so, we hope to make the best decision, and then, only time and circumstance can tell us, whether that was the best decision to make. So, it's not easy, but
no, I can imagine
those decisions have to be made.
Yeah. All right. So, we were going to talk a little bit of COVID impact, but I want to jump real
Sure.
quick to talk about Manchester athletics because I don't want to lose time talking about our own school. I feel like we all talk about COVID, and I'd rather keep this as least depressing as possible.
Okay.
Um, so let's talk. You wanted to talk about the Hall of Fame. You brought back the Manchester Township Hall of Fame. Obviously, you and a group of people. It's not only you,
Right.
but it's back, and I really feel like it's a great thing that it has been brought back because we have so many athletes that have been amazing that do deserve the recognition of being a part of a Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Talk about your initiative with bringing back the Hall of Fame, why you did it, what you're trying to accomplish, and when's the next class going to be announced? Who are the candidates to be announced? If you
Okay.
can say
So, sure. The Hall of Fame has been a challenge to say the least. We have personally, I can tell you that I've tried to generate nominations for many years, and it's very difficult to get people to send in nominations. And one of the things that
crazy.
I hope people understand is that I personally can't remember every specific individual athlete's accomplishments, even though I've been at the building for so long. Even in my 18 years as the athletic director, I can't remember all the individual specifics of anyone's accomplishments. So, I need those people, whether it's those individual athletes or their families or classmates or others. I need people to send those nominations in. And so, in the last few years, Facebook has helped us do that because I've made connections with people. I've encouraged people to send some things in.
Can I give you three right now, openly right here?
Well, you can tell me who they are, but
Yeah.
but what I would tell you is that just telling me who you think they are would not be enough for me to. I would need a nomination form filled out and sent in.
Okay, where can I do that? Because I'm thinking Andrew Dunbar is someone that I want to see in there. My year. Sonia Sullivan, if she's not in there yet, absolutely should be in there. And then Mason Jones, just from what he did as an athlete in 3 sports. Those are my 3. And there's so many more, but I would love to find that form because I would send that in a heartbeat.
Okay, so you would have to go to our website and go to the high school athletic page, and the forms are there.
Cool.
So I can tell you that Sonia is in.
Good. I didn't know if she was in or not. Hell yeah.
She got in last year.
Great.
And, there are some requirements. You have to be out of the building for at least 5 years. It allows us to get some of your information from maybe your collegiate experience.
Yep.
That's not necessarily a prerequisite.
But it helps.
But it definitely helps. And there's a portion of the nomination form that allows you to put that information if you're aware of it. And so outside of individual athletes, sometimes even close friends or close teammates may not know all the specifics. And so it might be a group effort to try and put a nomination form together. But our committee had decided that, we need nominations sent in. We can't just put somebody in because we know off the top of our heads that they were really good athletes and did some good things. So what we've done on our website is we've included a list of athletes that have been nominated So for instance, if you had somebody in mind, Andrew Dunbar has not been previously nominated, but you would be able to go to our website and see whose nomination forms we have, and we will keep, they will stay on the file, and they will be reconsidered every year that the committee meets to try and put a class in. So, we currently have, a handful of 10, 11, or so nominations. The latest that we received was Sharika Minigan and Alexis Valman.
Absolutely.
Both of those kids, obviously were good athletes for us, and they were sent in by Sharika. So we've got some information, and so when we meet, and I haven't determined when we'll meet again, but we'll hope to put a class in the fall of this calendar year.
Awesome.
That will be the first official conversation we will have had for Sharika and Alexis. But, D. Scott and the three Mussoffs, Jared, Kristen, and Travis are there. George Jeminiak and Kate Henninger and Jerron Griffin and Mike DeMilo are, those are the athletes that we have.
Okay.
There are coaches that can be nominated, teams that can be nominated, or people that have contributed maybe in some service to the athletic arena.
Is there a list of Hall of Famers on the website as well, so you can know not to renominate somebody?
Yes.
Okay.
That list is there, and you'll be able to see the teams and the people that have already been inducted.
So my final question.
There's a full list there.
I'll let you kind of take it away a little more. Has Kathy Yayak been nominated yet? Because she absolutely is a Hall of Famer in Manchester athletics.
Well, I don't think anyone would disagree with you.
If that's not there, I'm getting it done.
She's not qualified yet in terms of her time away.
Okay.
So the committee had decided in terms of qualifications to put a number of years that you're out before you can be nominated. So
that makes sense.
I think she is in her third year out and would have to get to 5, but she would be a classic example of, she wasn't an athlete. She wasn't a coach. She certainly wasn't a team, but she certainly provided tremendous service to athletics over a 32-year period.
We had the best athletic trainer in all New Jersey for a long, long time.
Right. So I fully expect that you or countless number of others
she's a no-brainer.
Would nominate her when the time comes. Definitely. And I certainly look forward to that opportunity.
All right. So I have to ask you, this is more on the AD side, getting away from the Hall of Fame a little.
Okay.
You mentioned Coach Wilkerson is over at the middle school.
Yeah.
What is it like for you as an AD kind of coordinating middle school outreach to our athletes? Is that something that you focus on to kind of get, people that maybe aren't even in athletics in the middle school yet interested in trying out for a sport? Because the number of sports increase exponentially when you get to the high school that you can try out for. So what is the effort with that? How close are you working with head coaches to maybe do they still do the visits down to the middle school like they used to do? What is the coordination level from you as the AD to get that done?
Well, we just try and keep in touch with, with the coaches and make sure that they have an opportunity to share with their kids what's happening at the high school. So the last few years when freshman orientation has occurred and all of the middle school kids and their families and the kids from Lakehurst come in, we do a little thing in the auditorium explaining some things about scheduling. I do a little piece that basically talks about athletics in a broad range. And then we send them to the gym, and we have all of our coaches and all of our advisors, our club advisors. We have everybody there so that if a kid or their parents have questions, generally the head coaches are there. In some rare occasions, maybe it's been an assistant coach. We've had current kids in the program there to support the coaches, and if the kid was more comfortable talking to, say, a captain or a team leader, they would be there to do some of that too. So this year, obviously, we did not have that event happen because of the COVID experience. So I sent an email to all of the 8th grade parents, identifying who our coaches are, giving their email addresses, and encouraging them to reach out to our coaches to find out what they can about what a summer program might look like. If they're interested, we try to encourage them to get involved in the summer so it makes the transition in September to school a little bit better. They will have already potentially met some teammates. They would have gotten an idea of who their coaches are and what that, what that experience might be. And that's one of the ways that Coach Wilkinson's already determined that there are right now 22 kids that are communicating interest in playing, whether
God, it
that
was so
number.
scary being a freshman going to football summer with the seniors. And that
Yeah,
is one of the most scary things, seeing these grown men and you're this little scrawny 14-year-old that hasn't lost their baby fat or something like that. And these
that's
are
funny.
grown men. Like it's an experience. And I recommend to all freshman football players. Hey, listen, there's no more two-a-days, no more Coach LB and Coach Malice to yell at you. So those are names that
Yeah,
that's gone. Now you talked about the summer program.
sure.
I'm going to transition a little bit into the COVID stuff now.
Okay.
What is the status of summer programs? What is the status of the fall season? What are you, obviously you're probably getting day in and day out things, and it probably has changed 10,000 times since this really has started. What's the outlook right now with summer and fall?
It's, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of question marks. It's difficult to not really have answers, because typically now we can tell you that on this day in June we're going to meet, and on these days in July we're going to do this, and so it's been difficult to sort of know exactly how all of that's going to unfold. The NFHS, National Federation of High Schools, put out some guidelines of how we might be able to get back to some participation, but it's really even difficult to imagine some of the guidelines. In phase one, you can't have more than 10 kids. You can't use the locker room. You can't, if a kid wants to shoot a basketball, he's got to be the only one that touches that basketball. You can't throw a football to another player, because that would, that football would then have to be
disinfected and tested.
Yeah, and so phase two requires constant disinfecting of any balls that you use. You can't share bats, and you can't share sticks, and you can't share gloves. And of course, for many years, speaking of Miss Yayak, we have discouraged sharing water bottles for a long time, and we didn't need COVID to tell us that wasn't a good practice.
Listen, you can't stop all the kids.
I know certainly you're at your own risk, but
and especially those big jugs that we used to carry around the machine, we had to pump the crap out of it. A bunch of different hoses, and who put their mouth on it that they weren't supposed to, and I don't know if they still have the octopus there, but that was such a thing.
We do
in the summer program all the time.
yeah, we do that, and so it's going to be a different experience, I think. But exactly how it takes shape is sort of yet to be determined. I'm hopeful that we can do something for the kids. But I don't know what that necessarily will look like. I know our coaches are starting to have meetings virtually. The state has allowed us to tell our coaches if they want to have Google meetings. They can do that. And so we've encouraged our coaches to do that, just to try and touch base with the kids as another layer of support for them academically and emotionally. It's been a difficult time. And, so I know a lot of our coaches have had a meeting to check in, and some of our coaches have started to communicate what workouts will look like, in terms of them trying to do their own workouts to stay physically fit. And be ready if we're given the opportunity to, gather. Phase two, I think, allows us to have 50 kids together, but they suggest them being in pods of 5 to 10 in terms of like a workout group.
Soccer practice that way, or these
very difficult.
It's going to be creative. Now, this has been in my brain right now, because the summer, it's more than just the organized summer programs. Like, for years, captain's practices happen, and they're very important to start that team camaraderie before coaches are there, because some of the best work gets done when those senior leaders are established. And what is it like for you now as the AD? Because you've always been great about, the football team getting together, 30 guys, 40 guys to jump in and do captain's practices. The seniors, we really didn't even have to run it by you. You knew it was happening, and you knew as long as we weren't being idiots and being safe and, just running drills, no tackling, you were okay with it. And even cross country, like getting together and doing long runs. What is it now for you where you can't allow that? And
there's a lot of risk
for you now.
There's a lot of risk in allowing captain's practices anymore because of
it's crazy how important.
The issues, when we first closed school, we didn't want to encourage anybody to come back to the facility because they'd be putting each other at risk in doing any of those things. And by the current guidelines, they still are without adult supervision. You don't know if they're maintaining the social distancing that they should be, and whether they are doing other things that would put their own families or other people in the community at risk. So we've purposely communicated to our coaches that they cannot encourage gatherings, and they need to strongly encourage the kids to just hang in there and wait until we can do things, safely. And believe me, our coaches are itching to get at it as much as the kids are.
Oh my God.
And, as soon as the opportunities are going to be there for us to do it safely, we're going to try and make sure we can, so that everybody has some sense of normalcy. It's a terrible experience for the seniors that didn't get a spring season.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm going to let you finish with that. I want to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
Right now, there's, a big prediction that we might see another wave in winter.
Yeah.
As an athletic director and as a whole entire group of athletic directors and, and New Jersey and the governing bodies, are you already planning to have to kind of maybe shut down winter sports already? Or are you guys more optimistic that this is going to be figured out, the second wave is going to be manageable, and we can play sports?
Well, again, that's sort of it's hard to know what's going to happen, but we are planning in terms of trying to see what some of our options might be. Is it possible that we just play divisional games and we don't play others? Is it possible that we prioritize divisional games over the ability to maybe even having state tournaments?
And are we going to have no fans, or maybe social distance fans, where you have specific seats where you can? That's one thing I don't get. Is that something being discussed, social distancing fans? Because I never understand how the pro teams, they're saying no fans, no fans.
Right.
Those stadiums hold 60,000 people, 15,000 in basketball. You're telling me you can't figure out, okay, we're only going to sell 15% of these tickets, and we're going to make sure they go in these sections? Like, is that something being discussed? Because it's on a much smaller scale on the high school level.
Well, it's a good thought.
Distance them.
It's certainly something I think that needs to be talked about, Alex, because in our gym, our gym capacity is, I don't know, 970. It's actually, we lost capacity since you graduated because our new bleachers have the ADA, access and the compliance with the rows and the bars and the handles to get up and out.
Okay.
So we actually, but to go back to your point, is it conceivable that we could allow our families only to come? I suppose, but those are all conversations that will need to be had if in fact we're going to be in that situation. I'm hopeful that even before that, though, if there's a risk, basketball's sort of a median risk sport. Football is a maximum risk.
Wrestling gets a big number, and wrestling is going to be very difficult.
Maximum. There is a proposal out by the AD at Mainland, Mike Gatley, who's suggesting that we push football off to the spring. This was an idea that was originally floated in Ohio, and I don't know how much traction it would have out there, and certainly I don't know how much traction it has here. But I think everyone's trying to be open-minded to the possibility of flipping some seasons in order to get something in versus not having it.
Coach, we would experience Texas and Florida and Georgia football. If kids that have never experienced heat all the time would experience that in the spring, and they would understand what it's like to move down south and play if we did it in the spring, because it's going to be, kids will miss those fall games where it's cold.
No question. No question. It would be different if that was the direction that the state or the conference chose to go. We'll have to take our guidelines from the NJSIAA and then sort of try and work within the parameters that we're given. But I think there's going to be a lot of ideas, and there's going to be I don't think we'll make everybody happy, but the idea will be to try and provide the best experience you can for everybody given the circumstances, and hoping that if those incidents of positive cases break out, that it's going to be able to be controlled in a manner that's not going to impact us in the same way that we're currently impacted.
100%. Hopefully, if we do have a next wave, it's not as bad. So before we close out, I want to give you the opportunity. You probably already sent a message to your seniors that, lost their season of eligibility, but I want to give you a chance to maybe reiterate it here to the senior athletes and the senior body as a whole, and even the athletes that lost their spring seasons in general, because we have some super talented younger athletes that didn't get
Sure.
a Jada Ellis, who is one of the best sprinters
Oh,
in the
yeah.
state, now didn't get a chance to go out and, grab it and completely put everybody on notice that she is the best sprinter in the state. It was a difficult situation.
Oh, yeah.
What is your message to your senior athletes, all athletes and students in general about having missed that spring season and ending their winter season short?
Well, certainly, the message that we try and give to a lot of kids is you control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's a really good lesson in life that you can't control everything.
Yep.
And so if you can manage to control what you can and do the best you can in trying to stay fit and trying to minimize your own risk in becoming infected or infecting others, I think that will only go a long way to help. Feel terrible for the seniors.
My God.
I think the one saving grace that might make everyone feel a little bit better is that it's not just isolated in our community. It's nationwide. It's in a sense worldwide.
Global. Yeah.
There are a lot of kids that can identify with the loss that they're feeling. And in the end, if losing the opportunity for a season is all that happens, it's certainly better than the loss of life. And we've definitely had a lot of people that have experienced that. And,
yes.
And, they just have to support each other and hang in there and do the best they can with the opportunities that might come forward and in front of them. I would just ask them to stay positive and keep supporting each other the best they can.
Great. So Coach, I really want to thank you for digging out the time to come here and talk to me. It was an absolute blast to pick your brain.
It was great talking to you, Alex, and I'd welcome any opportunities moving forward, certainly. And I look forward to you sending some nominations in.
Oh, without a doubt.
Any future conversations we can have that would shed good light on what we're doing at Manchester and, talk about successful athletic alumni like yourself that are making us proud.
Thank you very much.
I would welcome that opportunity, and I wish you a lot of luck in your second child that's coming any minute. So
I'm surprised my wife didn't burst through the door and say, let's go. But again, he is Keith Lister. He is the longtime 18 years athletic director over at Manchester Township High School with a very successful track record. If I won't go over the accolades again because we will be here for another hour. He has that much, but I want to thank you for coming on. Coach, any social media plugs, Twitter, things that you handle, any Instagram stuff where they can find you or any information about Manchester athletics?
MTHS_sports is our Twitter handle.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't ventured into Instagram.
Oh, we got it. We have so many great pictures of our athletes that you could be throwing up there.
Yeah, maybe I need to do that.
Have so many, and definitely they would share it with you.
Well, we certainly, we encourage our coaches to have a Twitter handle now,
yep.
and it just seems to be the way to, catch up with all the news, at least athletically speaking, and if not everything.
Here we go. I'm calling for it. This is the birth of the Manchester Township Athletic Instagram. Let's do it, Coach.
Okay. I'll make it a note.
Awesome. All right. So once again, this is the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. Instagram, Sports Opinions 30. Find us on Facebook. Anywhere you can hear a podcast, you can watch My Ugly Mug and Coach Lister's Never Aging Mug on YouTube. And give us a good rating, review, follow, spread the word, because we're only going to get better. And Coach is going to come back because I just want to talk to him about being an AD. And maybe you can convince me to try and go back to school.
Perfect.
So again, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have a good one all.
Thanks, Alex.